水绿南宁。
Good evening, you're watching the main news on ATV. I'm Belinda Lloyd.
And I'm Edna. Here are tonight's headlines.
Public feedback invited on proposals to charge households for waste based on amount or prepaid garbage bags.
Consultation launched on giving police powers to stop anyone for mandatory drug testing.
Former ICAC Chief Timothy talks sad and regretful after lawmakers criticise his spending habits. Government advisers are giving the public 4 months to accept or reject proposals to start charging households for waste based on prepaid garbage bags or the entire amount produced by residential buildings.
They're suggesting a levy of $30 to $74 a month for a 3-member household and a possible bonus for those who generate less waste. The numbers are staggering. Hong Kong's landfills take in around 13,400 tons of waste every day, enough to fill 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Of that amount, 67% is garbage produced by households.
We have a serious problem. We have a problem that is not going to be sustainable. The landfill is filling up, and we don't have many other tools in the short term to deal with the situation. So how to reduce waste at the source is very vital.
The Council for Sustainable Development today launched a second round of public consultation on proposals to start charging households for garbage. One suggestion is that domestic garbage produced in multi-story residential buildings could be handled by estate management agencies, which will collect money from households based on the total weight of the waste generated. Or the charge could be based on the volume of waste, counting garbage bins used by the whole building. Residents and the building management would have to agree on payment arrangements. For residential blocks without building managers, tenants would have to use prepaid garbage bags and bring them to designated refuse collection points. As for the amount people have to pay, the council is suggesting $30 to $74 a month for a 3-member household.
The calculation of the charging level is only as a reference starting point for all of us to start the discussion, just to say to get the ball rolling, that's all.
But the ball may not be rolling the way people want. Take Mr. Lam, for example, from a family of 3 living in a private housing estate. He's worried that an across-the-board charge would be unfair, as his family hardly cooks at home and produces only a small amount of garbage. To address concerns like his, the consultation paper is asking for feedback on whether there should be a threshold for the amount of waste that can be produced without having to pay anything, or whether a bonus should be given to those who produce less. Green Group Friends of the Earth supports the prepaid garbage bag proposal.
If we can charge everyone by household per volume, I think that this is also a very effective way to encourage our citizens to cut the waste being dumped into the landfill.
Based on the public feedback, the Council will make final recommendations on the way forward to the government in the last quarter of next year. The government is also inviting public feedback on proposals to give police the power to stop people on the streets for mandatory drug testing.
Officials are trying to ease concerns that this may lead to police abusing their power. ATV's Bolong reports.
Growing concern over drug abuse has prompted the government to propose mandatory testing, and today it launched a 4-month public consultation exercise. The move comes amid growing worries about so-called hidden addicts, those who take drugs at home. According to the Action Committee Against Narcotics, it now takes an average of 4 years to detect such addicts, compared with 2 years in 2008. The aim of mandatory drug testing is to identify abusers at an early stage so that they can undergo rehabilitation. Under the proposal, police can stop and search a person if they have a reasonable suspicion that he or she is under the influence of drugs. At the moment, officers can only test people found with drugs. While this raises concerns about human rights, the Action Committee Against Narcotics insists police will not abuse their power.
First of all law enforcement officers must be trained. In fact, they should take some courses and also pass some internationally recognized examination. And then we got standardized procedures. So we got standardized instructions to make sure that the person involved understand the procedures. And then we got a tape recording so that we can have objective evidence in case there is any dispute. And then for those who are under the age of 18, we suggest that there should be an independent third party.
Those who fail an on-the-spot screening test based on the current drug driving test mechanism will be escorted to a police station to have their urine sample taken. If the sample tests positive, they will be given counselling or sent for rehabilitation. If they are found to be taking drugs again, they will be prosecuted. The committee stressed that it's more about helping people quit drugs than punishing them.
What we're proposing is that we're not going to prosecute them at the start. In fact, we would like to give them an opportunity to have treatment. So it is the reason why we use the title Rescue drug testing scheme, because we really want to rescue those addicts, those people who have taken drug, an opportunity so that they can get rehabilitated.
Concerns have also been raised that social workers will be overstretched with an already huge workload. This afternoon, Security Secretary Lai Tong-kwok admitted extra resources may be needed.
This is not an easy task, and if we are to go ahead, there are resource implications, not only on the law enforcement agencies, but also more importantly, at the downstream rehabilitation assistance provided by social workers, medical staff, to those concerned.
Lai added it's too early to say how much manpower will be needed. Bo Leung, ATV News.
Former ICAC Commissioner Timothy Tong has expressed sadness and regret about the scandal over his lavish spending habits when he headed the anti-graft agency.
But he stopped short of making a full apology, admitting he's made mistakes while insisting his integrity is intact. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
Former ICAC Chief Timothy Tong was ready to face the media after being grilled for more than 3 hours by legislators this morning. They recalled him to the chamber to explain discrepancies between his earlier testimony and the findings of an independent review committee, which looked into his lavish spending habits when he headed the anti-graft watchdog. Promising to give the public a full explanation when the time is right, he insisted that he can't say much because the ICAC is still investigating him and he'll have to appear in LegCo again. The incidents that took place during my tenure as commissioner have raised public doubts about the ICAC, he said. Putting aside whether or not it's my personal responsibility or how many mistakes I made, I feel sad and express regret over this. I made mistakes, but they don't undermine my integrity. Earlier, he was in for grilling by lawmakers on the Public Accounts Committee. The review committee's report, released earlier this month, revealed that Tong had broken rules on using public money 42 times. Some lawmakers took him to task over his sightseeing tour to Lijiang City during a duty visit to Beijing and Yunnan Province in 2009. The former ICAC chief confirmed in May that details of all duty visits must be approved by the chief executive. But the review committee found that Donald Tsang, the chief executive at the time, was unaware of Tong's visit to Lijiang. Independent lawmaker Paul Tse said Tong was supposed to meet a senior Yunnan official in Kunming, but provincial authorities decided to send a lower-ranking officer. As a result, Tse said Tong decided to skip the meeting and head to Lijiang. The lawmaker accused Tong of changing the itinerary and doing whatever he wanted. Tong denied the allegation, saying he decided not to meet the lower-ranking official because it was a matter of protocol. He admitted that Zhang was not notified of his visit to Lijiang, explaining it as a last-minute decision made by Yunnan officials. But as the former chief executive had approved his trip to Yunnan, Tong assumed it was fine to visit other parts of the province as well. On another issue, Tong blamed an administrative error for 2 senior ICAC officers on a flight to Brazil upgrading to business class without prior authorization. Tong was also heavily criticized for buying massive amounts of alcohol for entertainment and claiming the charges separately from the account he should have used. The Independent Review Committee noted that he started the practice of serving the fancy Chinese liquor Mao Tai and spent over $200,000 on drinks alone. Gary Chan from the pro-establishment DAB asked Tong if he issued memos instead of filling out claim forms, so it would be more convenient for him to buy alcohol outside restaurants where he hosted official dinners. Tong hit back, saying he was not aware he was required to fill out claim forms when buying alcohol, although ICAC rules stated that he should. The Civic Party's Ellen Leong went a step further to accuse Tong of lying. Tong replied that different departments use different methods to claim expenses, and he was too busy to look into specific administrative procedures. During the session, Tong spent much of the time consulting his legal advisors and kept repeating his answers. Lawmakers criticized him for wasting their time by coming to meet them unprepared. ICAC Commissioner Simon Pei and Director of Community Relations Julie Mu are scheduled to attend tomorrow's Public Accounts Committee hearing. Emily Su, ATV News.
Trade and industry expert Godfrey Leung has been appointed as Under-Secretary to Commerce and Economic Development Minister Gregory Sohm. The appointment comes more than a year after the new government began its term. So defended the lengthy hiring process, saying it was a challenge to find the most suitable person for the job. Leung, aged 49, starts work next month. His appointment comes shortly after 3 political assistants resigned.
A Beijing court has ordered the execution of a man who killed a 2-year-old girl during a fight over a parking space with her mother.
The case provoked widespread anger across the nation, and many applauded today's ruling. 39-year-old Han Lei was quoted as saying he would gladly accept the death penalty for a shocking crime in July. That's exactly what the former convict got today at Beijing's #1 Intermediate People's Court. He had outraged the nation by snatching a 2-year-old girl from a pram and dashing her to the ground during a dispute with her mother. The attack, which was captured on security cameras, stemmed from a car parking argument at a supermarket. The court heard that Han told the woman that her pram was blocking the space where he wanted to park his vehicle. When the woman refused to make way, Han grabbed the girl from a pram and raised her above his head before hurling her to the ground. The toddler was severely injured and died days later in hospital. Han and his friend Li Ming fled the scene, but Han was caught the next day. He claimed he thought the pram was a supermarket trolley and stressed he had not intended to cause the girl's death. But the court found him guilty of intentional homicide and gave him the death penalty. Li, who appeared alongside Han in court, was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for hiding the suspect and attempting to cover up the crime. Han had previously spent time in prison after he was found guilty of stealing a car in 1996 but was released last year. Outside the courtroom, the mother's lawyer Ma Cheng welcomed Han's death sentence, saying justice had been served and the family was pursuing a 3 million yuan compensation payout from Han. But Han's defense lawyer, Chen Zhongqiang, branded the sentence as unfair and said he would advise his client to appeal. While it may be case closed for Han's brutal act, mainland authorities have another heart-wrenching tragedy on their hands involving young children. Police in Jiangxi province have opened an investigation into the deaths of 2 young sisters. The girls, aged 2 and 3, died after reportedly climbing into a washing machine the day before. Investigations are continuing, but police have ruled out murder. And still to come on ATV's main news tonight, Iranian president offers to hold talks on his country's nuclear program.
Barcelona make it 6 out of 6 as they maintain perfect start to Spanish football season.
All the latest news of the Mr. Asia contest and Miss Asia pageant 2013 is on WeChat. Don't wait. Sign in to keep close with the upcoming legends. Every day we learn from him, from her, from someone we barely know. But what does it mean to you and me? Find out the answers on Check In Current News, Global 3000, Thursday night at 8.
What happens now could be prevented in the future. What was impossible yesterday might become possible tomorrow. Let's find out how science makes our world a better place. Tomorrow Today, Saturday night at 7.
The 60th Macau Grand Prix, coming soon.
One of the organizers of the Occupy Central movement has hit back at a senior Beijing official's campaign to discredit those who plan to blockade Hong Kong's business district.
In response, Benny Tai warned that chaos and violence will only erupt if Beijing breaks its promise on universal suffrage for Hong Kong. Beijing's propaganda chief in Hong Kong, Hao Jie-chuan, has triggered a storm over electoral reform, publishing 3 articles in Chinese-language newspapers in the past 5 days, attacking pro-democracy supporters. In his high-profile attacks, he singled out the Occupy Central movement, accusing it of being a force of subversion that would undermine the rule of law. Hao also said the civil disobedience campaign would open the floodgates to unlawful demonstrations, which in turn would cause turmoil in Hong Kong. He urged the Occupy Central campaigners to seek proper legal means to express their views instead of causing chaos and violence. One of the movement's co-organizers, Benny Tai, hit back with an article published in today's Mingpao newspaper. Tai insisted that there's nothing illegal nor subversive about holding discussions for the public to debate on electoral methods, which is what Occupy Central has been doing since the movement began in March this year. He stressed that the pro-democracy movement has been trying to explore all possible avenues to attain universal suffrage, when the government hasn't even taken the initiative to launch a formal public consultation on the issue. Tai stressed that political turmoil would only happen if the central government fails to live up to its promise of one person, one vote in time for the 2017 election.
Overseas, a powerful earthquake has rocked southwestern Pakistan, killing at least 250 people and injuring 400. The army launched a massive rescue and relief mission after the 7.7 magnitude tremor shook Balochistan province. Reports from the devastated region say thousands of mud houses collapsed and communications with many towns and villages were cut. Mountains and deserts in the remote area are making rescue emergency operations difficult, and there are fears the casualty toll may rise. The quake was so powerful that a small island emerged from the sea off Gwadar port.
The US has cautiously welcomed Iran's offer for talks on Tehran's nuclear program.
But suspicions between the two longtime foes remain deep, and a much-anticipated handshake between their leaders did not happen.
Hundreds of people gathered outside the UN headquarters in New York to protest against Iranian President Hassan Rouhani before he addressed the General Assembly. Inside, the newly elected leader dismissed Western claims that Iran wants to develop nuclear weapons as sheer fantasy. Iran poses absolutely no threat to the world or the region, he said. Rouhani insisted that Iran opposes nuclear arms and other weapons of mass destruction. He reiterated Tehran's stance that its uranium enrichment project is for peaceful purposes and called for talks to resolve the issue. Iran is prepared to engage immediately in time-bound and results-oriented talks, Rouhani said, adding that the discussions should aim to build mutual confidence and remove mutual uncertainties. But he also lashed out at US-led sanctions imposed in a bid to stop Tehran's nuclear program, complaining that they have crippled Iran's economy. These sanctions are violent, pure and simple, he declared, pointing out that it's the common people who have suffered as a result. Earlier, speaking from the same rostrum, US President Barack Obama said the signals from Iran were positive, and his Secretary of State will follow them up.
We are encouraged that President Rouhani received from the Iranian people a mandate to pursue a more moderate course. And given President Rouhani's stated commitment to reach an agreement, I am directing John Kerry to pursue this effort with the Iranian government in close cooperation with the European Union, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China. The roadblocks may prove to be too great, but I firmly believe the diplomatic path must be tested.
There had been high hopes of a handshake between Rouhani and Obama, the first between the presidents of the two countries in 34 years. But Iran stayed away from a luncheon for world leaders because, according to an Iranian TV station, alcohol was served. Rouhani, however, met French President François Hollande. They discussed Syria's decision to give up its chemical weapons. In what was seen as an olive branch to Israel, Rouhani discarded the rhetoric of his predecessor Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and condemned the Holocaust as a reprehensible crime against Jews. But his statement on an American TV station did not mollify Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said the world should be wary of Iran, despite Rouhani's soothing words.
Time now for sports with Brittyn, Clennett.
And 6 out of 6 for the top two in Spain, Britt.
Indeed, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid have maintained their perfect start to the season. With Barca in top form and Atletico Madrid doing just as well, there's a feeling that this season's La Liga campaign could be a two-horse race.
Barcelona hosted Real Sociedad and fans were delighted to see Neymar score his first goal in La Liga just 5 minutes into the game. 3 minutes later, the Brazilian forward turned provider for World Player of the Year Lionel Messi, whose diving header doubled Barcelona's tally. Defender Sergio Busquets scored a rare goal midway in the first half to give the reigning champions a 3-0 lead at the break. Sociedad found the net in the 64th minute, courtesy of Alberto de la Bella. But the comeback was short-lived as Marc Bartra came off the bench to flick in a Messi cross. The 4-1 win extended Barcelona's perfect start to the season with 6 wins in 6 matches, keeping them at the top of the table on 18 points, ahead of Atletico Madrid on goal difference. The team from the Spanish capital took on Osasuna and went ahead through Diego Costa in the 18th minute. Costa was on target 7 minutes later to tighten Atletico's grip on the match. Osasuna pulled one back through Oriol Reda before half-time, but they failed to capitalise after that. The 2-1 win gave Atletico their 6th straight victory and puts them in a comfortable position early in the season.
Locally, more people are expected to take part in this year's edition of the Harbour Race next weekend. Organisers say 2,000 people are likely to take the plunge, 10% more than last year. Safety is also expected to be boosted for the 1.5-kilometre race from Les Humeunes to Quarry Bay. The annual event was launched in 1906 but was scrapped in 1978 because of pollution in the harbour. It was revived 2 years ago when conditions improved. And finally, in sports, the world's first openly gay boxer is preparing for a title bout and the America's Cup goes down to the wire.
It appeared that Team New Zealand had the America's Cup in the bag after leading 8-1 at one point of the competition in San Francisco Bay. But Oracle Team USA staged a historic comeback to draw level at 8-all, setting the stage for a dramatic finale later tonight. Excitement mounted as the defending champions won the penultimate race to stay in the hunt for sport's oldest trophy. The world's top yachting competition is held every 3 years, and the event this time is the longest in the 162-year history of the America's Cup because bad weather forced many races to be postponed or cancelled. The first openly gay boxer, Orlando Cruz, is preparing to step into the ring for a shot at the world featherweight title. The Puerto Rican has been training in New York ahead of his bout with Mexico's Orlando Salido in Las Vegas on the 12th of October. Cruz said most people have been supportive since he announced last year that he's gay.
I want respect, that's it, it's my decision, it's my life. I want to free, I want to relation, I want to comfortable, you know.
The 32-year-old got engaged to his boyfriend last month. Football officials in Colombia have called off a highly anticipated match between Atlético Nacional and Millonarios after 3 people were killed in pre-match violence in the capital, Bogota. Those killed were wearing the shirts of their teams and were targeted by fans of rival clubs. No new date has been set for the match between Nacional and Millonarios, which is one of the highlights of the Colombian football season.
A look at the weather before we go. It was cloudy this morning but brightened up during the day. Temperatures varied from 26.8 to 31.2 degrees, while the relative humidity was between 67 and 86%. Winds were moderate, coming in from the east. Let's check on the ultraviolet reading. The maximum recorded for the day was 10. Tomorrow's UV index will be about 10 as well. Let's take a look at the weather in the region. A while ago, Typhoon Pabuk was about 680 kilometres south of Tokyo. It's forecast to move northeast towards the seas south of Japan. Now to the satellite images. An airstream from the east is affecting the South China coastal areas, and a cold front over the northern part of Guangdong is moving south. Here's what we can expect over the next few days. 1 or 2 showers tomorrow morning, but expect sunny periods after that. Temperatures will range between 25 and 29 degrees. Sunny periods on Friday before a cloudy and wet weekend. Now for tomorrow's air pollution levels. General stations will be low to medium at 25 to 45. Roadside levels will be medium to high at 50 to 65. Finally, here's the weather around the world.
That's our main news for Wednesday night. We'll have an update in an hour. I'm Edna.
I'm Brittyn Clennett.
And I'm Belinda Lloyd. Thanks for watching ATV. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Coming up, trackside. Stay close to fresh K-pop from the hottest selling artists to the up-and-coming superstars. Keep in touch with the latest chart of the Korean pop music scene on Samsung Digital Special, Pops in Seoul, Thursday at 6:25. Report from the heart of Berlin. take a closer look at the development in one of the most powerful countries in Europe. How much do you know about Germany? Check in current news, people and politics, Friday night at 8. The Wajapi, fleeing from the modern city. People see them as strange animals, but they have their own community life. How can they keep their own identity and lifestyle? All about documentary, living cultures, Friday night at 10. This Saturday, get extra amusement from our fabulous Korean Hour. Korea Agro Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation Special. Korean Hour, You Are My Destiny. Saturday afternoon starting at 5:30. What health is all about. They say it can be anything that improves the quality of life. Every week, the specialists will come on